Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. How was your Halloween, guys? I hope you had a safe Halloween. I hope you had a warm-ish Halloween. I didn't really do anything. I did, though, walk my dogs in my inflatable unicorn outfit, and my mom's dog, Maisel, she was a unicorn too, so that was my Halloween. But I hope that you all had a great and safe Halloween. All right, dough. Not that dough. This dough. If you've ever kneaded dough, you know it's a lot of work. I've kneaded dough, I think, twice in my entire life. But in the few times I have kneaded dough, what I find that is unbelievably hard is rolling out the dough. But luckily we have mixers that can mix the dough for you, and we have mechanical rollers that can roll out the dough for you. But have you ever thought, who invented the dough roller? Now, the rolling pin dates back to the 9th century, and the first known civilization that used the rolling pin were the Etruscans, who lived in Italy just north of Rome. When it comes to a patent, because, that's what matters, the person that invented the rolling pin was in 1864 by an African-American inventor named John W. Reed. His invention was a rolling pin, but it has handles and just the center rolls. You're welcome, white people. While going down this rabbit hole, I found the inventor of the improved dough roller and kneader that essentially was the bedrock for the mechanical roller, Judy W. Reed. Let's get started. Stick around for the end of this story for a little surprise. Judy Woodford Reed was born in 1826 in Charlottesville, Virginia. Now, very little is known about her. She first appears in the 1870 census in Fredericksville Parish near Charlottesville. At this point, she is 44, a seamstress, married to a gardener named Alan Reed, and they have 5 kids. That's all we know for the next 10 years till she pops up somewhere, still with her husband in Virginia, but this time with a grandson. Don't know who had this kid. It just sucks that sometimes when you research these people, especially African American women, there's so little is known about them. Then at some point between 1880 and 1885, Allen died and she moved to Washington, D.C., where she stayed and raised her kids at 1906 K Street Northwest. How we know Judy became a widow by this time is that she began calling herself Widow of Allen. Now about her patent. The patent for her invention, the dough kneader and roller, was classified as B29B7/562 mixing kneading conditions with mechanical mixing or kneading devices with movable mixing or kneading devices with co-operating rollers with repeating actions for axially moving the material on the rollers. All of that basically means the machine allowed you to knead the dough more evenly with a closed top and that you could roll the dough once it was done. The application was granted on September 9th, 1884, with the publication following the same day. Her witnesses were Lewis Mackenzie and John Amber Smith, and her invention was an improvement of a design on existing rollers. Now, what makes this patent so interesting is the name. Since it says J.W. Reed, it's easy to assume that it is a man. However, next to the attorney's signature, it has the inventor's full name, Judy W. Reed. And yet her signature, which you can't find on this, is an X. Why? Relatively simple. By this time, the 13th Amendment had been passed and ratified, but of course, it is unlikely that Judy knew how to read, write, or at least sign her name. And in the census, it refers to Judy and Allen as illiterate. So that's why she signed her patent with an X, or since during slavery, slaves would be beaten or just flat out killed for being caught learning or already knowing how to read and or write. So it is also likely that Judy knew how to read and write, but just didn't show it because, she could be killed for knowing how to write her freaking name. So when she received her patent, and to not cause controversy, she pretended to be illiterate to make it easier for herself by being a typical dumb nigger. Plus, there was still a huge desire to not see African Americans make any kind of progress. So whether either or is correct, when she got her patent, that made her the first African American woman to receive a U.S. patent. To make this extra awesome, by the time she got her patent, slavery had ended a measly 20 years ago. Boom. Unfortunately, there is no documentation of Judy's life beyond her patent, and she died in 1905 at the age of 78 or 79. That's all I got. That is literally all I have. But this brings me to the surprise. Judy's story is criminally short, but nonetheless, it's important. But I had to make this video a little bit longer, so y'all get a bonus story. Excess water in your clothes. Just stick with me here. If you ever wash a shirt in a sink, you know that you have to wring out the excess water so that not only does the shirt not get deformed, but also so that it can dry faster. However, your hands cramp up wringing out the clothes and you don't really do a good job getting all the water out. The hair's back in my eyeball. Ellen Eaglin found a better way. Let's get started again. Ellen F. Eaglin was born in February of 1836 in Maryland. Once again, little is known about her life, but at some point her family moved to Washington, D.C., where she later made a living as a housekeeper and government employee. With her housekeeping job, she would do back-breaking laundry work and the task of scrubbing the clothes by hand on a washboard, then wringing out the clothes by hand, sparked her idea for this invention. By 1888, Ellen invented her groundbreaking simple device. The device was a machine that had two wooden rollers attached to a crank that you would insert the washed and rinsed out clothes in, and as you turned the crank, it would wring out the water into a bucket. And voila, the clothes wringer was born. It's simple. This invention would revolutionize laundry for centuries. But we don't know about Ellen, and zero credit is given to her because at the time, not only were there very few female inventors, but less Black female inventors, and they couldn't claim the rights to their inventions. Either black or white, if you got boobs, you don't get credit. But even though Ellen invented something that is now in all common washers today, for some reason, Ellen sold her patent, which is essentially her invention, to Cyrus Wheeler Jr. for $18, which is $579 today. In an April 1890 issue of the Woman Inventor, a short-lived magazine that highlighted women inventors that was created by feminist reformer Charlotte Smith, Ellen was interviewed and asked why she sold her invention at such a low cost. Ellen said, quote, "You know, I am Black, and if it was known that a Negro woman patented the invention, white ladies would not buy the wringer. I was afraid to be known because of my color and having it introduced to the market. That is the only reason." End quote. Cyrus would go to put his name on her invention, turned her invention into the American Wringer Company by 1900, that went on to make a massive profit. And of course, Ellen was never given a single profit or even a credit, even though her invention is still used today for wringing mops out. Now, though she had to give up her clothes wringer, she continued to invent another invention and planned to patent it in her own name, saying, quote, The invention will be known as a black woman's, end quote, and would inspire African American women for many generations. She planned to show this invention at the WIIC, or Women's International Industrial Inventors Congress, where, regardless of race, you could go. But for some reason, Ellen never went to the WIIC, and we don't know what her mystery invention was. I would give anything to know what that invention was. And doubly crappy, we don't know what happened to her after this. It seems that she spent the rest of her life in Washington, D.C., and by 1890, she was employed as a chairwoman in the Census Office at the United States Department of the Interior. Ellen appeared in the 1888 local city directories living at 1929 11th Street Northwest with her brother Charles, who was a Union Navy veteran who was a teamster. A teamster was originally someone who drove a team of oxen, horses, or mules that pulled a wagon. Ellen Eagland was last recorded in the 1916 Washington City directories. It truly seems that if Ellen had not spoken to Women Inventor, we would have never known about her, and that she is the reason your clothes dry faster. Okay, there you go. I needed something a little bit short. Again, it's so hard to do these stories that there's little to nothing, but these women deserve to have their voices heard. These two women invented something that to this day is still used, and we had no idea who they even were. If you learned something today, and I sure hope you did, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And while you're down there, please leave a friendly comment. I will be back next week with another video. But until then, don't be well behaved. You just might make herstory. See you next time, guys.